What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and today we're going to be giving the once over to BASEketball. There will be spoilers.
Give it a good once over.
Giving us the once over.
Giving him the once over.
Give me a once over.
Down to give us the once over.
For a routine once over.
Once over.
Oh, just once over lightly.
Alright, so BASEketball has got to be one of the weirdest sports movies of all time, but it is also one of the funniest, and I absolutely love it. It came out in 1998 and was directed by David Zucker, of course from The Naked Gun, Airplane, amazing comedy director, and he did not let anybody down with BASEketball. Not only that, but he teamed up with the dream team, Matt Parker and Trey Stone. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, I always mix that up. I am wrong. Let's find out which one of those things it is. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are the words that I'm trying to say here, who of course made the wonderful, amazing South Park. Before we actually get into the review, I just want to talk about a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, you might notice that my studio is looking very different. I own a microphone now, and if all things worked out wonderfully, then you are hearing a better audio recording. If they didn't, then I sound exactly the same, and this is just a fake little prop. It didn't work. In addition to that, you might notice this mural that I am working on in the background. It is a work in progress, but I think it's coming along pretty nicely. It is actually a movie reference. I will be very impressed if you can figure out what movie this mural is from, so let me know what you think about that. I will give you a hint that the colors are inverted, so that makes it a little bit trickier to identify, but let me know what you think about it. In addition to that, I also wanted to say thank you so much for being so patient with me. I know that I've been a little MIA lately. It's just been a really busy time. I have been doing lots of stuff because I bought a new house, so I've been moving, and I just got back from doing a Who Are These Podcasts live in Detroit, which was absolutely incredible. After that, of course, I just had life stuff going on, and we've been a little slim pickings lately, so thank you very much for bearing with me and hanging out and coming back to join me for this awesome review of BASEketball. So the general plot of this film is that a couple of losers invent a game called BASEketball, which sort of has the rules of basketball, sort of has the rules of baseball, and it's mostly just a ton of fun.
A triple's from back here, and a home run's from behind the meatballs.
However, obviously, some other things happen. We get blackmail, we get a romance subplot, all of the fun and excitement. Now, as I already mentioned, Parker and Stone, we're gonna call them Parker and Stone because I already forgot which one is which. They had done the first season of South Park, but they figured that there was no way that they were gonna get renewed. However, they did. And so because of that, they had to work on this film during the day and then go back and work on South Park at night. Now, if you know anything about South Park, you might know that a lot of the time, especially in the earlier days, they were creating episodes basically overnight. There's a really great documentary about that, and their work ethic is absolutely incredible. Something that is unique about BASEketball, though, is that for the most part, when these two are working on films, they have complete autonomy. But with BASEketball, they did not direct this film. So like pretty much every single other thing that they've done, they've created it in every single way. This is one of the few things that they did not. When David Zucker realized that the two of them were actually going to come onto the project, they ended up rewriting the script because Matt Parker and Trey Stone, god damn it, I already forget if that's wrong. They just are great, and you want to be able to showcase their amazing talents together because the two of them have amazing chemistry. We got to see that already in Orgasmo, which came out 1 year earlier in 1997, and if you haven't checked it out already, you should absolutely go check out the Porn Stash podcast and their Pornish review that I joined as a guest on about Orgasmo. That was a super fun film to talk about, and I loved it. In addition to that, of course, when they were in college, their college project was Cannibal the Musical, which, oh boy, do I love it.
Eyes out with my knife.
Oh, stop.
Just like with those two films, we get a little bit of the South Park vibes within BASEketball. So if we get voices, for example, we get to hear a lovely Cartman voice, and we even get to hear a little bit of Mr. Garrison. We also got all of that stuff even as early as Cannibal the Musical, but I always get excited when I get to hear it. So let's get into what actually happens in this film. This movie opens up with Reggie Jackson hitting a home run and Joe Cooper, played by Trey Parker, Coop, catching the fly ball, the home run ball. Fly is the wrong word. I don't know anything about sports. Reggie Jackson is a sports guy, right? We're impressed with that. He's in this movie 2 times. Very excited. I know who he is. Coop swears that he's going to become a big sports star after having this wonderful, meaningful moment in his life. Since that was childhood Coop, we now flash back into the adulthood Coop. While we're doing this, we get a really great voiceover where the narrator is explaining to us that modern day sports are a bunch of malarkey. They are just about making money and moving teams, and there is is no really good sportsmanship anymore. It's all about showboating.
The athletes caring less about executing the play than planning the vulgar grandstanding that inevitably followed, even the most pedestrian of accomplishments.
Effectively, the games became secondary to money, and that results in the fans getting bored. Now, while a lot of that is accurate, I think probably even in 1998, but definitely nowadays, the fans definitely haven't gotten bored. I still see people watching the sports games all the time. Again, I don't know anything about the sports, but I am wearing my Isotopes baseball jersey. Coop's best friend is Reamer, played by Matt Stone. The two of them go to a party. Effectively, they crash a party where they, are interested in one of the girls at the party. This is where we really get a feel for the type of comedy that this film is going to be. Reamer drinks out of a bidet, and there is a lovely, lovely, lovely vibrator scene that ends up being the least sexy thing in the world.
What are you guys doing in my mom's room?
While at the party, Coop and Reamer get challenged to play some basketball against the jocks.
What, you guys got something better?
Are they jocks? I don't really know. They're like boathouse dudes. They're the cool guys. Successful, not losers. But regardless, they know that they're not gonna win against these guys, so they create on the fly this game that they call basketball, which is basically basketball but with baseball rules. Now, I don't know anything about any of these rules, so I don't know how accurate these rules are, but what I do know is that almost all sports require a defense. And it turns out that the defense in basketball has almost nothing to do with your team, but rather just screaming insults into other people's faces. Psych-outs are the appropriate term for what they do. Basically, they just mock the other players into submission. Probably my favorite of them is this one.
Fat liposuctioned out of Marlon Brando's ass.
Oh, no. What am I doing here? Oh, it's all salty and warm. Oh, why would I do this? Oh, this guy ate a lot of pork. Oh.
The whole point of these psych-outs is to do whatever it takes to make the opponent miss their shot. Coop and Reamer end up winning the game, but the hot guys still get the girls. But that doesn't even really matter because honestly, at this point, Coop and Reamer just care about playing basketball. However, they need a third member for their team. In comes Kenny, aka Squeak, played by Dian Bachar, who is maybe the funniest character in the film.
Yeah, he told everyone that he caught you jacking off in the bathroom before the game.
He saw that?
You will probably recognize him if you're familiar with Orgasmo or with Cannibal the Musical, and he did some voices in South Park in the earlier seasons. He is a tiny, tiny man who likes to make fun of the fact that he is a tiny, tiny man.
Hey, we're all normal people, man.
When I say that Coop and Reamer are losers, Squeak is a nerd. With the three of them playing together, the game becomes more and more popularized. This attracts the attention of Ted Denslow, a millionaire who wants to make basketball go national. Ted Denslow is played by Ernest Borgnine, who has had a very rich career.
The conch signal! To the invisible! Vote for Beale!
And again, I realize that Zucker is the director of this film, but still to have that sort of name recognition is pretty incredible. Of course, as we go on, we will also find out that two of probably the biggest smoke shows in the world in 1998 are also in this film, which is Yasmine Bleeth and Jenny McCarthy. So, I mean, they did a pretty great job with casting. I do also really like when they're kind of like meeting with Ted Denslow and they're starting to play basketball in their backyard and it's getting more and more popular. They are wearing shirts that say Shirts and Skins, which I just think is a hilarious little sight gag. They are so good at the sight gags, at the slapstick sorts of comedy, and it shows in this film. We get to see that basketball is succeeding. In fact, there are fields for it. We get to see the teams. Coop and Reamer play on a team called the Beers, who have a lovely, lovely mascot. You know, it's such a popular event that even Real Big Fish is playing all of the sports games. I don't know how to call sports things. Again, talk about things that are popular in 1998. Jeez Louise. I do have a little bit of a question about the transition from having us go to playing in the backyard to going to playing in these arenas. The entire thing that makes basketball as a sport work is the psych-outs, right?
I don't know.
Most of the time the psych-outs are just two guys talking to each other. How does that function in an arena? Because there's no cameras on the field. It's not like these guys are mic'd up. So I don't really get how the fans would have taken it to this level. Sure, there are plenty of psych-outs that are a little bit more visual, but much of what it is just dudes being like,
I want to feel you. Deep inside me.
Oh! Yeah!
So the Beers are playing their big game. As Coop is about to take a shot, the psych out doesn't get him, but unfortunately he does get got. Ted Denslow excitedly chokes down a glizzy and it goes down the wrong pipe.
If Coop can make this one, the Beers...
Which results in Coop missing and also losing the guy who has helped him become a sports legend. Coop loses the team for the Beers, and this loss could not have possibly come on a worse night because it is egg night.
Uh-oh, Dip did it. Dip did it.
This is better than Dark Day.
The hot dog CGI is also a little comical. I realized that it was 1998, but we probably could have done that with a practical effect, although maybe Ernest Borgnine was like, nope, that's beyond what I'm gonna do. Not for me, thanks though. Totally dejected, the guys are leaving the stadium because they lost, but Coop ends up meeting Miss Jenna Reed, played by Yasmine Bleeth. Yeah, Yasmine. Jenna's character brings in quite a bit of the romance subplot that I honestly could do without, but there's a lot of great comedy gags when it comes to her.
And all you can do is argue about who's the bigger penis? I mean, child. Longwanger. Oh! Throbbing girl! God, I don't even know what I mean anymore.
Since Ted Denslow has passed, we do get into the main plot of the film now, which is that Coop is inheriting the team because of Denslow's death. However, there is a caveat to that. If the Beers don't win the Denslow Cup, then the team will revert to Ted Denslow's wife, trophy wife, Yvette. Played by Jenny McCarthy. Again, there's lots of like absurd little moments within this scene. In particular, Ernest Borgnine singing I'm Too Sexy.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts.
It's just absurd. This is when we get introduced to the villain of the film, Baxter Kane, played by Robert Vaughn. Baxter starts scheming with Yvette to try to take over the team and the league. Now, the reason that they want this is because they want this to be a profitable sport. The entire point that Coop and Reamer had was that this was not going to be something where they could just make a ton of money. They wanted it to be about the sport and the fun of the sport because they loved it. They didn't want players switching teams and moving locations.
And after playing for New England, San Diego, Houston, St. Louis, a year for the Toronto Argonauts, plus 1 season as a greeter at the Desert Inn, I'm happy to finally play here in the fine city of Miami.
Minnesota.
Whatever.
So Jenna Reed, she actually works for a foundation that's kind of like a Make-A-Wish style foundation, and Coop uses that to his advantage to get a little bit closer to her because the kids that are all getting their wishes because they're dying, one of them is Joey, and Joey absolutely loves basketball. Now let me tell you something else about Joey. He can handle his alcohol. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the film, but I do understand why it gets some criticism. It is basically just Joey hanging out with the guys. He didn't get his wish to kill an endangered species, so he ended up asking to hang out with the basketball team, the Beers, and they all go out drinking, and it's just little kid getting drunk and them doing sight gags and dumb stuff for, 5 minutes. It's really great. I enjoyed it a lot. Joey, you're badass, man. That leads into one of the heaviest physical comedy scenes, which is in the hospital when the guys believe that Joey might have died because, he's on death's door and they took him out drinking all night. They accidentally sit on the tube, Squeak goes down a laundry chute. It's just a lot of physical comedy and a really fun scene.
I'm giving her all I've got, Captain. I love ya. Always have. Claire!
It does end up turning out that Joey is okay. I will be honest, it had been a long time since I saw this movie, and I did not remember if Joey made it out of that, and there was a while. There was like a long period of time where I was like, oh my god, are they gonna kill off Joey? They got me. I was totally convinced he was done for. And not only that, that actually would have been very interesting because we don't do a lot of killing the kids in the movies. But again, it turns out he's fine. He's fine. Joey's great. Meanwhile, Baxter, still trying to scheme in order to make basketball a little bit more profitable and get access to that money by marrying Yvette, we get to see him trying to lure in Reamer. Coop was not at all enchanted by the idea of making money, so Baxter moves on to Reamer. And this leads us to a great trophy room scene. So let me just kind of set the scene for you. Reamer goes into this trophy room. Now, when you think of a trophy room, you think of like trophies on a wall, right? No, not Baxter. He's so rich that he has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Siegfried and Roy just hanging out in the room in little trophy cases. They look like Barbies, sort of. It's very, very, very good. And there's a baseball bat from some baseball legend who I'm sure is important in some way, but I already forget. Ty Cobbs, is that a name? It might be Ty Cobbs. It's probably not. Ty Cobb? Ty Cobbs. Don't hate me. And let me tell you, it works. Remer is very, very excited to make some money. So he is rich now. He's like wearing chains and doing goofy shit. Before we talk more about the movie, I just want to talk a little bit more about the games themselves, the basketball games. Every team has like a theme to it, and then they all have cheerleaders who are dressed in slutty lingerie to match whatever their team is. So like we have the aliens, we have some other things that are not appropriate at all, and this movie could definitely not be made today, but there's a lot of funny shit happening in there. And in addition to that, I want to talk about the games also because you might notice that they actually have crowds full of extras during these games. I happen to know somebody who was an extra in this movie, and I learned that on my wedding day. My ex-husband was actually one of the extras in the crowds in this film. I was trying to find him, but I couldn't. The morning of our wedding, he actually told me that he was in basketball. And I was like, how have you never told me that? We had been together for like 10 years. I was like, why are you just mentioning this to me now? That's like amazingly cool. So in my wedding vows, I actually said, I am so happy that I get to learn new things about you every day, including things like the fact that you were in basketball. So this movie holds a very special place in my heart because it was literally part of my wedding vows. So with Remer now rolling in the money, basically Coop kind of relents and he's like, all right, hey, listen, I'll split the team with you guys because I would rather have us all be doing teamwork than for us all to be doing this money thing. The reason that that's appealing to the guys is because Coop at least gets the team. So he effectively is making more money because he owns the league. With that motivation, as they go into the Denslow Cup, trying to win the game in order to make sure that the team does not revert to Yvette, all of them are playing incredibly, incredibly well. Squeak does this crazy psych out.
Your mother's deaf.
My mother's dead, you little twerp.
I guess that's why she didn't move around a lot.
And basically they're all just kicking butt. Of course, Baxter, our villain, we know he's got to come back and screw some shit up, right? And he does, because when he was working with Remer, he ended up convincing the guys to do a merch line. That'll make a little bit of money. It won't compromise all the, stuff. And Hollywood Remer is like, yes, please. I like money. Baxter frames this as we are going to save Jenna's foundation by making this merch line because her Make-A-Wish style foundation is not doing great. And Joey might die because of that. And we already almost lost him once, so we can't have that happen again. That little Elkie needs our help.
Oh, sorry, I forgot how much Doug Remer cares about kids.
Baxter, being the sneaky sneak that he is, though, of course, is not actually making a good clothing line. He is instead using child labor to create this thing. And that is where we get into our blackmail plot. He basically says, hey guys, if you don't give me the team, then I'm gonna tell Jenna, your love interest, all about the fact that you are using kids as labor in a not great way in Calcutta. This entire conversation happens when Coop and Remer are butt-ass naked also. It's really great. The implication is that they have giant penises. I don't really know why the entire movie was necessary because chances are that they didn't need to impress the girls with the basketball back in that opening sequence. They could just taken their dicks out, no? Coop is devastated by the whole thing because, again, he just wants to be able to play a sport and have fun and be in love with Jenna. And he ends up going for a drive where he gets to hear a lovely original song. It can't be South Park without at least one original song, right? This song speaks directly to him.
When you're down, that you gotta get up. Don't let them walk all over your face.
Also, fun fact, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Matt Parker and Trey Stone, their band, the band that writes all of these great, great songs, it's called DVDA. And if you haven't seen Orgasmo, you can find out what that means there. Or pretty much anywhere on the internet, I think. Because Coop has discovered this information and he is devastated and the song speaks directly to him, he decides that he is going to go to Calcutta to try to fix the sweatshop. Because he has disappeared off to Calcutta and nobody knows where he is, we get to have a whole Unsolved Mysteries episode about him.
A familiar story, yes, but this is no ordinary Joe.
Joseph R. Cooper, perhaps the most loved sports figure in the country, vanished. According to Mrs. Elsie Melcher, a neighbor who asked not to be identified.
It's so awesome. Of course, now it's time for the Denslow Cup, and Coop luckily returns just in time. Jenna sees this wonderful news article about how he was actually helping the kids and he fixed the factory and all of the good stuff, so she ends up not hating him. Yay, yay, romance, yay. Yay, Yasmin Pleath. I think that's really what we care about.
Run! Run! Run, Yasmin! Run like the wind!
However, Coop and Reamer's relationship is still a little sketchy at this point. The reason for that is because, honestly, both of them like Jenna.
It's a commitment ring. What, for Jenna? Yeah. Well, I'm giving Jenna a pre-commitment ring.
And in addition to that, they still had this kind of like unresolved tension relating to how basketball was going to be handled. Were they going to stick by the bylaws and make sure not to make it become a spectacle, or were they going to make a butt ton of money? So they end up having a huge fight in really dumb costumes, and Squeak gets to be the voice of reason while wearing a pineapple costume.
Look at you guys! Fighting on the Mulaka Laka board! You should be ashamed of yourselves.
There's also a little reference to Titanic in here.
Remember to hold your breath just before we hit. Never let go.
Which is just great. Luckily, Coop and Reamer end up making up and also making out. There's a lot of politically incorrect things that happen in this movie. I don't necessarily think that the two of them making out erases those things, but it certainly makes their potential homophobia a little bit less concerning. I think the whole thing with South Park is we make fun of everybody equally. I know some people get offended by stuff like that. It doesn't offend me, it turns out. This is a comedy movie. It's a comedy movie. We're gonna say some offensive things. In addition to them starting to make out though, another kind of weird thing happens, which is that Yvette, who has liked Baxter this entire time, just magically starts hating him. Okay, I didn't even get to talk about all of the hilarious Yvette, like...
Why don't you visit sometime? Maybe we could, lay some carpet.
That's 2 rooms done. Boy, those corners are tricky.
Regardless of all of this background noise, we actually get to see the final shot of the Denslow Cup. We know that it's gonna be a magical moment, and Coop is coming up to the plate, whatever he's coming up to, he's coming up, and he has this very special ball that he made himself.
What's that? It's a basketball. Whoa, dude, you made a ball? Out of what?
Lazy Boy. He made it out of a Lazy Boy chair, but it's out of air. At the same time, Jenna, Joey, and the other kids are all on their way to the game. They weren't gonna go because at first we hated Coop, but now that Jenna knows that Coop is a good guy, she's like she's like, we gotta make it to the game, we gotta make it to the game. Thank goodness Dale Earnhardt shows up and race cars them over to the game. And amazingly, Joey, he made his own ball. I could cry about it. The Barca Lounger. I realized that I just made a little joke about me crying, but this is actually a very emotional moment in this film for me. I legitimately got a little teary-eyed. It's very sweet. There's a lot of heart in this comedy movie that is dumb and goofy and slapstick, and that's what makes it so great. We get the nice little wrap up of the movie. So of course we have the drama with Coop's last shot, and then he makes it and it's exciting, and Jenna kisses him, and Squeak gets his chick also. I didn't even talk about that because again, that's that not so PC stuff. We're gonna go ahead and skip right over that. In addition to that, Reamer and Yvette get together, which is actually kind of adorable because really they were made for each other. Just look at the fact that they're both saying the same crap. So cute.
Did I just fart?
Did I just fart?
And Reggie Jackson shows back up. Okay, if I was emotional about Joey, I got even more emotional about Reggie Jackson. I don't care about Reggie Jackson, but I know that Coop cares about Reggie Jackson. We got to see all of that from the beginning of the movie, and so it's a really sweet moment. That also has comedy in it.
I got the 2 home run balls I hit in the World Series. Some wretched little shit got the 3rd one.
So the movie gets wrapped up in a nice little package, as most comedy films do, which I think is lovely, but we do get a post-credit scene in this one. The post-credit scene is the announcers, so you know, like there's like game commenters. These guys are probably famous people that I don't know who they are. I'm really sorry again for the not knowing the sports things, but the two guys that are like doing the sports announcing, they're doing like a little bit where they're both saying the word dude.
Dude. Dude. Dude. Dude.
And that actually happens a couple of times in this film. I feel like this movie got it before Dude, Where's My Car?
Dude, 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 dude.
And it's very South Park, right? So with all of that being said, I think you guys already absolutely know that I love this movie. I think it is a fun time. I think it's goofy. I think that it has a lot of heart. And I think that it is a perfect time capsule of 1998. I can't possibly say enough good things about Parker and Stone. Their comedy style is so well suited for each other, and they truly are a match made in heaven. In addition to that, with David Zucker's writing and directing, this is just a comedy that is gold. Now, all of that being said, this is probably my least favorite Matt Stone and Trey Parker movie. I would say that my favorite is probably Cannibal the Musical, followed by, oh my god, they have so many good movies, because especially if you're gonna include things like the South Park stuff. No, it's too hard to pick. It's too hard to pick. I love Orgasmo. I love Basketball. I love them all. I love them all so, so much.
No, you don't. You like Taco Bell.
All right, I got a little bit sidetracked because I just love this movie and I love all of the things that they are doing. South Park is amazing. The seasons continue being great, and I think that they actually just got renewed to 2027. So, I mean, that's not going anywhere anytime soon. In addition to that, they just released that Casa Bonita documentary, which was friggin' rad. There's so much great stuff. If you guys haven't seen this one, I highly recommend checking it out. It is an amazing sports movie, it is an amazing comedy, and it is just that goofy, fun South Park goodness that we all love. So with all of that being said, I would probably give this a 6 out of 7 thumbs up. This is a near perfect film for me. Even though I still don't really understand how basketball translates into arenas, because the entire thing with the psych outs is that you have to be up close in person. It doesn't matter, I don't care. I will suspend my disbelief for that. I know, it's a big sacrifice. What do you guys think about this movie? I would love to hear about your thoughts in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me for this review. I hope that you really enjoyed it and that you also really enjoy basketball, which is really the more important of those two things. So I will see y'all soon. I can't wait for the next one. Bye. Coop's best friend is a Reamer, played by Matt Stone.